got something you wanna ask me?
Remember when Jack Nicholson owned every scene as the ruthless Frank Costello? When Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon stood face to face in that elevator? Both undercover, both lying, both one wrong word away from a bullet? Two moles, one in the mob, one in the police. A deadly game of cat and mouse through the streets of Boston. And when the truth finally comes out, nobody walks away clean. It's the movie that finally won Scorsese his Oscar. The movie that proved remakes could be better than the original. And the movie with secrets darker than anything that happened on screen. Because here's the thing. The stories behind The Departed are just as twisted as the plot itself. Actors who almost played different roles. Scenes that were never supposed to happen. And one improvisation that terrified the entire cast. If you love cinema history, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button because we're counting down 15 weird and wild facts you didn't know about The Departed. Fact 15. The movie is a remake. The Departed isn't an original story. It's a remake of a Hong Kong film called Infernal Affairs. But here's what's wild. Scorsese's version is better. Infernal Affairs came out in 2002. It was a huge hit in Asia. Warner Brothers bought the rights and handed it to Scorsese with one instruction: make it American. Scorsese moved the action from Hong Kong to Boston, swapped the triads for the Irish mob, and added his signature style, the violence, the tension, the moral complexity. When Infernal Affairs director Andrew Lau saw The Departed, he said Scorsese's version was superior. That almost never happens with remakes. The student became the master. A remake that's better than the original, in this economy? Subscribe so we can keep exposing Hollywood's rarest achievements. Fact 14. Jack Nicholson improvised his most disturbing scenes. Jack Nicholson played Frank Costello, the psychotic crime boss, and he went completely off script. The scene where Costello pretends to shoot Billy with his hand? Improvised. The scene where he throws cocaine at the camera during the interrogation? Improvised. The scene where he uses a dildo to threaten someone? Yeah. Nicholson brought that prop himself. Nobody knew it was coming. Leonardo DiCaprio said working with Nicholson was terrifying because you never knew what he'd do next. Scorsese loved it. He let Nicholson run wild. The result? One of the most unpredictable, menacing villains in cinema history. Nicholson didn't just play Frank Costello, he became him. Fact 13. Brad Pitt was originally going to star. Matt Damon plays Colin Sullivan, the mole inside the police department, but he almost didn't get the role. Brad Pitt was originally set to star as Sullivan. His production company Plan B bought the rights to Infernal Affairs and developed the project for years. But when it came time to cast, Pitt decided he was too old to play a rookie cop. He stepped aside and stayed on as a producer. That opened the door for Matt Damon, who was the perfect age and had the babyface charm to play a corrupt cop hiding in plain sight. Sometimes the best casting happens when the original choice backs out. Fact 12. The rat at the end wasn't planned. The final shot of the movie, a rat crawling across the balcony railing. It's heavy-handed, it's obvious, and it almost didn't happen. Scorsese shot it as a joke, a literal rat symbolizing all the informants in the story. He figured the studio would hate it. They loved it. Test audiences loved it too. They said it gave the movie a sense of closure, a final punctuation mark on all the betrayal. So, Scorsese kept it in. He later said he still isn't sure if it was the right choice. But it's become one of the most iconic endings in his filmography. Sometimes the obvious choice is the right one. Fact 11. Mark Wahlberg wasn't supposed to be in it. Mark Wahlberg plays Dignam, the foul-mouthed sergeant. It's one of his best performances. And he wasn't Scorsese's first choice. Scorsese wanted Ray Liotta for the role. They'd worked together on Goodfellas, and Scorsese thought Liotta would nail the volatile, aggressive energy of Dignam. But Liotta turned it down due to scheduling conflicts. Dennis Leary was also considered before Wahlberg got the call. Wahlberg signed on, and his performance earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Years later, Wahlberg said it was the best decision of his career. The role wasn't big, but it was unforgettable. Sometimes the smallest parts leave the biggest impact. Fact number 10. The Boston accent coach was critical. The Departed is set in Boston, and the Boston accent is one of the hardest to fake. So, Scorsese hired a dialect coach to work with the entire cast. She drilled them for weeks. Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon both grew up in Massachusetts, but even they needed help. The Boston accent varies by neighborhood. Mark Wahlberg, being from Boston, was the gold standard. The other actors would listen to him to make sure they sounded authentic. Jack Nicholson? He didn't care. He played Costello with his own voice, and Scorsese let him. The result? A movie that feels authentically Boston, even when it's not perfect. Fact number 9. Martin Sheen was a last-minute replacement. Martin Sheen plays Captain Queenan, the sympathetic police captain who protects Billy's identity. But Sheen was a last-minute replacement. Irish actor Gerard McSorley was originally cast. Scorsese wanted authentic Irish heritage for the role, but McSorley had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. Robert De Niro was then considered, but he turned it down to direct The Good Shepherd. Martin Sheen stepped in and brought a calm, empathetic presence that perfectly contrasted with Wahlberg's explosive diagnum. And Sheen's death scene, one of the most shocking moments in the film. Fact number 8. Vera Farmiga's character was rewritten. Vera Farmiga plays Madeline, the psychologist caught between Billy and Colin. In the original Infernal Affairs, her character was minor, a love interest, nothing more. But Scorsese and screenwriter William Monahan expanded her role. They made her a key player in the moral ambiguity of the story. Farmiga said she loved that Madeline wasn't just there for romance. She had her own arc, her own choices, her own betrayals. The ending hints that she's pregnant with Billy's child, adding another layer of tragedy to the story. It's one of the smartest changes Scorsese made from the original. Fact number 7. The movie cost $90 million. The Departed had a massive budget, $90 million. Half of that went to the cast's salaries. When you've got DiCaprio, Damon, Nicholson, Wahlberg, and Sheen, you're paying top dollar. But Warner Brothers knew what they had: an all-star cast, a legendary director, a script that was Oscar bait. The movie made $291 million worldwide. It was a box office hit and a critical darling. Warner Brothers got their money's worth, and then some. Fact number 6. Scorsese used real Boston locations. Scorsese shot The Departed on location in Boston. Real streets, real buildings, real neighborhoods, the Massachusetts State House, the Boston Common, Chinatown, South Boston. Scorsese wanted the city to be a character in the movie. He wanted audiences to feel the texture of Boston, the grit, the history, the claustrophobia. Local Boston residents were hired as extras. Some of them recognized the locations and pointed out inaccuracies, which Scorsese appreciated. The authenticity shows. The Departed doesn't just take place in Boston, it is Boston. Fact number 5. The Dropkick Murphys song was a late addition. The Dropkick Murphys' I'm Shipping Up to Boston plays during key moments in the film. It wasn't in the original script. Scorsese added it during editing because he wanted a song that screamed Boston. The Dropkick Murphys are a Boston band. The song became synonymous with the city. After The Departed, Shipping Up to Boston became a stadium anthem. The Boston Red Sox still play it at Fenway Park. One song choice. Cultural impact forever. Fact number 4. Alec Baldwin based his character on real cops. Alec Baldwin plays Captain Ellerby, the no-nonsense police captain. Baldwin said he based the character on real Boston cops he'd met. Tough, cynical, sarcastic. Guys who had seen everything and weren't impressed by anything. He improvised a lot of his dialogue, including some of the movie's funniest lines. Scorsese loved Baldwin's energy. He gave him freedom to ad-lib, and Baldwin delivered. The result? A character that feels lived in and real, even in a movie full of larger-than-life performances. Fact number 3. The movie won Scorsese his first Oscar. The Departed won 4 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. For Martin Scorsese, it was his first win after 5 previous nominations. He'd been nominated for Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Gangs of New York, and The Aviator. He'd lost every time. When Jack Nicholson, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg presented him with the Oscar for Best Director, Scorsese seemed almost shocked. He thanked everyone. He kept it short. And then he walked off stage holding the statue like he couldn't believe it was real. After decades of being the best director who'd never won, Scorsese finally got his due. The Departed wasn't just a great movie, it was validation. Fact number 2, Scorsese called it moral ground zero. Martin Scorsese had a complicated relationship with The Departed. He later said, "I call The Departed moral ground zero. All the characters are killed at the end, and there was no place to go after that." The process of making it was exhausting. Scorsese said, "I hardly did any press for that film because I was tired of it. It was maddening. I liked the picture, but the process of making it was highly unpleasant." Despite the grueling production, Scorsese created a masterpiece. Sometimes the hardest films to make are the ones that matter most. And The Departed? It mattered. Fact number 1, Jack Nicholson was paid $10 million. Jack Nicholson's paycheck for The Departed, $10 million. That's more than anyone else in the cast, more than DiCaprio, more than Damon, more than Wahlberg. Why? Because Jack Nicholson is Jack Nicholson. He also got a cut of the box office, which pushed his total earnings even higher. Was he worth it? Absolutely. Nicholson's performance as Frank Costello is the engine of the movie. He's terrifying, unpredictable, and magnetic. You can't take your eyes off him. $10 million, and every penny earned. The Departed, a remake that became a masterpiece. A movie that gave Scorsese his long overdue Oscar, and a crime thriller that still holds up as one of the 2000s. If you loved learning these facts, hit that like button. Subscribe to Old School America for more deep dives into the movies that shaped cinema. And remember, in The Departed, everyone's playing a role. The question is, who are you really? This is Old School America.